What's up, guys? Connor O'Hanlon here for another episode of the Greater Society podcast. And today we are back at our regularly scheduled time, 7 p.m. live on YouTube. So for those listening or watching in the future, we're back. Tax season is over. Screw taxes, man. I'm so done with it. No. We will have real discussions on taxes on this show. Yes, we should get outro card with some of this music. We will get that to Josh and see what we can do with it. So with that being said, the beginning of this show is going to be, well, I'll say the entirety of this show is going to be all over the place. This week has quite a variety of news. There's some stuff that is from last week that I kind of had to bring forward, and there's some just big bombshell stories, like the Fox versus Dominion settlement in the lawsuit. There is DeSantis going toe-to-toe, well, quote toe-to-toe, if you want to call it that, with Disney World, and I don't think he's winning. There is the announcement of Senator Bob Casey's reelection campaign for 2024 here in Pennsylvania. And then there is the calls for resignation for Diane Feinstein in California, which started probably a week and a half ago at this point. I wanted to start covering it last week, but more has happened since then. Of course, being the situation that we're in America currently with the gun situation, I have 3 stories that I'm going to highlight for you of young people getting shot this week, to different avails, to different outcomes for different reasons. And that is, to quote Childish Gambino, this is America. And we continue to refuse to do anything about it. Beyond that, there is a bunch of small, anti-woke stories. We'll look at Bud Light trying to get canceled and this guy smashing beer and all this different stuff. As we normally do, we'll intersperse some clips. And I actually want to start today with said random clip. And that is one in which might get me fired up, and I'd rather do it now rather than getting myself really worked up about this, later on in the show. While I pull this up. Yes, and to the question in chat, can you explain the GOP blocking Feinstein from being replaced? Is this real or was this a fever dream? We will talk about that. And if I don't mention it, which sometimes happens to be the case because my mind is like a giant web of craziness, just send it in chat again while I'm talking about that. I will talk about that up front. So, but this clip has nothing to do with the rest of the show. And that's why I wanted to lead with it, because it is totally random. It is totally out there. But I want to remind everybody that your power in this country, beyond your vote, beyond your ability to volunteer to give money, is your labor power. And I'm sure you guys have all heard this notion of, oh man, nobody wants to work. Everyone is so entitled and lazy. Nobody wants to come back to work after the pandemic. Well, that is obviously BS, as the unemployment rate has hit a historic low. The rate at which people are participating, the participation rate in the economy, is at pre-pandemic levels. So if we have a historic unemployment rate low, we have job creation being exponential. I mean, in the last month or two, I believe it's been leveling off, but it's still growth rather than shrinkage, which nobody likes shrinkage. And we have seen an economy that is more, not fully, but has become more inclusive of middle class and working class people, and starting to reward them more for their work. You see the rise of unions in this country, and we will see throughout the summer more and more union activity as well, it seems. However, this notion of nobody wants to work comes from a certain, pinpoint of people in the top management levels of companies. It is hard to find talent in a time and a place where most people have a job. And if you're not going to pay them more, they're not going to leave a job. I wouldn't leave a job if it's going to pay me less, or if it's going to make me work horrible hours beyond what a normal accountant would, right? So these are the things that we consider. Here we have the CEO of a Michigan-based company called Miller-Knoll, and the company is Miller-Knoll, Herman Miller, and Knoll Brands. There's multiple different companies. So this is during a town hall, which, if you haven't worked in corporate America, I envy you, but in corporate America, these town halls are usually ways that the CEO or the higher ups kind of get everyone together to send a message. Whether it's, at my former job, they did this to say, hey, we're getting acquired by this larger firm. This one is more so we're not going to give you a raise or a bonus this year. And it just so happens that the CEO here gave herself a $4 million bonus.
how can we stay motivated if we're not going to get a bonus? What can we do? What can we do? Some of them were nice and some of them were not so nice. So I'm going to address this head on. The most important thing we can do right now is focus on the things that we can control. None of us could have predicted COVID. None of us could have predicted supply chain. None of us could have predicted bank failures. But what we can do is stay in front of our customers, provide the best customer service we can, get our orders out our door, treat each other well, be kind, be respectful, focus on the future because.
So I'm going to pause it right there. That is a bunch of flowers and rhetoric. It's so nice. We all agree. We all want, I believe, each other to be nice to one another at work. We all want to have an environment that is welcoming to people at work, where we show up every day and it's not like, oh, I feel like I'm constantly under threat. Great. We want to do the job and we want to do it well. Most people, that is the case. They want to do their job well and they want to get paid for it. What she's saying here, though, is you should have the motivation to do this even if you're not going to get a bonus. You should have the motivation to go above and beyond even if you're not going to get a bonus, which is the rhetoric of somebody that is punching down. Because, of course, she is getting a bonus. Now, you don't have to, like, to put it in perspective, even if somebody's given like a $200 bonus, it's better than nothing. A $4 million bonus to the CEO could be divided a number of different ways to give a lot of different people a good bonus, coming out of probably what I imagine is a busy season for them, if that's the time that they have their bonuses. The CEO, of course, is not looking to provide, the best at this point for their employees. They're not looking to, put more money in their pockets. They're looking to get more for themselves in this case, or in a more public company, they're looking to return shareholder value, which is the main job of a publicly traded company, by the way.
It will be bright. It's not good to be in the situation we're in today, but we're not going to be here forever. It is going to get better. So lead by example, treat people well, talk to them, be kind, and get after it. Don't ask about what are we going to do if we don't get a bonus. Get the damn $26 million. Spend your time and your effort thinking about the $26 million we need and not thinking about what you're going to do if we don't get a bonus. All right?
So that's the crux of it. And of course, it's easy to say go and get it when you're the one getting a couple $1 million in bonuses, versus why is it implied that people should have motivation to go above and beyond when the CEO wouldn't do so without the monetary incentive to make more money? This is why, unionizing, knowing the power of your labor, negotiating for raises, negotiating for bonuses, negotiating for better fringe benefits. These are key things, and that every single one of you watching this, I don't care if you're making $5,000 a year or you're making $150,000 a year or even more than that, when you go and you advocate for yourself in negotiations, and if you have the ability to collectively bargain, you should always advocate for yourself and not just go above and beyond because it's going to say, oh, in the future, maybe there's something. No, you can go above and beyond, but you should go and get your value, go and get your worth. That is the key takeaway of this video, and I just wanted to highlight it because this type of entitlement from people like this, because this is entitlement to your time and to your labor, to your effort, says that we don't think that your time is worth the salary or the bonus that we're supposed to give you. We don't think it's worth that. You should just already do that. And that's not right. The time value of your labor is much more than most of us get, and I think you have to go out and go get it. So that's your motivational pep talk here on Wednesday here. So the next thing that we're going to go and slide on over to is a discussion on Diane Feinstein and her, current situation. Okay, so I'll lay the groundwork for you. Diane Feinstein is the longest serving senator in the United States. She has been serving in the Senate for longer than I have been alive. Just put that in perspective, okay? This is not to say that old people can't be in the Senate, that older people can't be in the House, that older people can't be the president. Look, Joe Biden's in his 80s. I believe he's 80. Diane Feinstein's in her 90s. And there are reports of her dealing with some, or I guess we don't know the stages of it because she's been absent from the Senate, but some dementia. And of course, we all have probably dealt with somebody in whether it's in our family or just in passing, or just that is going through and dealing with this. It's not fun. We all recognize that with the decline in age at this level, we wouldn't let somebody operate a vehicle. We wouldn't let somebody, even, I don't even know if like serving at McDonald's. I mean, not to diminish that. There's different, like serving food in general. We wouldn't let somebody do that because they're not fully capable of understanding, the implications of a mistake even. And again, I'm trying to be extremely cautious around this because it's a sensitive issue for anybody that is going through this and the families that are going through this. However, we're not talking about flipping burgers at McDonald's. We are talking about the United States Senate, where the Democrats have a 1-vote majority. And Diane Feinstein not being in the Senate limits the power of her own party and, frankly, threatens, I am trying to not be hyperbolic, but threatens the longevity and sustainability of our judicial system, as CB alluded to earlier in the episode. She is on the Judiciary Committee, which is responsible for, appoint the committee responsible for the preliminary appointments of judges, federal judges, and justices, technically, I suppose, if you were going to go to the Supreme Court, to get them to the floor of the Senate. And if you don't have the 51 votes when you get to the Senate, which technically I believe we would, if I'm thinking correctly, because we would have 50 plus Kamala Harris, but to get it out of the committee, you need that extra vote, okay? So what happened today, as I can try to get all these ads off of this, the Republicans. So here's the real thing: is that the Republicans can only do this for a certain amount of time. It's not gonna last. If it's not gonna last if this is my opinion. It's not gonna last if Dianne Feinstein chooses to resign, and then they could get her replaced on the committee. So, today or yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. My days have been blending together. Senate Republicans objected to Democrats' request to temporarily replace the ailing Californian on the Judiciary Committee, intensifying questions about how the chamber will function without her. This is from the New York Times here. The Republicans blocked an attempt by Democrats to temporarily replace Senator Dianne Feinstein on the Judiciary Committee, raising new questions about how her party will be able to move forward with Senate work without her. She's 89, so sorry. So she's already, as we've talked about in the past, she's already announced that she's not running for re-election. She's facing calls from congressmen, from senators, to resign because the position is vital to the longevity and sustainability of our democracy. So the Republicans can block these attempts, but if she resigns, my understanding is that they would have the ability to replace her. Now, I don't know what the short-term solution here is, but it's incumbent upon Chuck Schumer. It's incumbent upon other Democratic leaders. It's incumbent upon Joe Biden, I think, me personally, to ensure the legacy. First of all, to ensure her legacy. Second of all, to ensure the Biden presidential legacy, because right now the only real thing that we can do, Democrats, is appoint judicial nominees to federal judgeships, and if we had to, the Supreme Court. With her off, and she's suffering from shingles right now, which is something that, with age, is something that just really catches up to people. And, after 50, people get that. And we don't know what the real issue here is. But regardless, and with all this reporting going on and people calling for her resignation, and the Republicans really trying to stop her resignation, we should all have our ears up to think, okay, something is up here. I also say this because, look, this is a hard thing to almost even say, especially because, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a hero and is an icon for progressive, the progressive movement and basically ideology over the last, 50 years before she passed away. The problem is when we don't think about the longevity of our legacy, and I say our legacy broad there were calls for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to resign, not because she's incapable of doing the job, but just in case, tragedy strikes, which it did. And this changes the functioning of our democracy. It's a hard thing, but it's something that we'd have to do. Like, look, if I was 90 years old, I would rather somebody come and tell me, like, if I was 90 years old and I was starting to, slip a little bit, I'd rather have my legacy intact and just say, I did my job. It's time for, X, Y, or Z to come and fill this role, and we're going to continue to fight for progressive causes, whatever. Reminder that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was replaced by Amy Coney Barrett. So we're not looking, it's California, so the seat's going to be Democratic, but without her in the seat functioning as the senator, and it's not temporary, right? It's not like John Fetterman going to the hospital for a month. This is something that she has been absent, and there is no timetable for her return. So we really need to look at this from a strategic point of view, and not just throw away a chance at again, it's ultimately her decision, okay? It should be, her aides and her family and all these different people should probably just, if they care about that stuff, should start to analyze what's best for the nation and what's best for her. Recall Ronald Reagan. People don't talk about this, but Ronald Reagan had early dementia at the end of his presidency. So allegedly, I'm not like, it's not like, none of this is good, right? Like, this is not something that you even wish upon somebody that you don't like, right? Like, these cognitive slips are just very, very disheartening. And yeah, that's pretty much all I'll say on that. But in the chat we have, do you think there should be a term or age limit for Congress or the presidency? I support the idea of term limits, but I don't know how long is like a proper term limit, right? On the same wavelength here, my favorite senator is Bernie Sanders, and he is frankly old as dirt. The dude is ancient, but he still gets the job done, and it's, there's that balance. I I would say there's probably a better argument to say that there should be term limits or some sort of um I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's like a test. Like that's kind of an odd way of putting it. There has to be some way to make sure that people are capable of doing the job. But then again, it's the will of the people in the end, right? So if people voted for, Ronald Reagan in the 80s and they voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and they voted for all number, people that I disagree with, that's the will of the people. It's like saying here in Pennsylvania's first congressional district, um, Brian Fitzpatrick did win. He got more votes, so he wins. I'm not gonna throw a fit like the right willed and say it's rigged or it's fake or it's not real or he cheated. He didn't. He won, and I'm the I think the biggest proponent of democracy as you can be, and just have to say, like, that's the will of the people. If people keep voting for somebody, I think it's incumbent upon the voters to choose somebody different, or somebody within the party to challenge them. And that's not easy, but it's something that they have to consider. Um, God made dirt, so dirt can't hurt. Exactly. I don't know that we should say Bernie for president yet or at all right now, but look, if Bernie was president, I'd be quite happy. Um, but that's what I have on that. Quickly, I want to talk about though the announcement of Bob Casey. So, for those who don't live in Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey is the 3-term, I think, senator from Pennsylvania. He's maybe longer than that. He's probably been there. He's been there a long time. But he is the co-senator with John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. Bob Casey, his last election cycle was in 2018, where he absolutely destroyed. The same year, I believe that Josh Shapiro was running for Attorney General. I believe. Nope, that was 2020. But regardless, there was a number of statewide elections for Pennsylvania in 2018 that were beast mode for Democrats. I'll just say that. And Bob Casey typically is like known as a pretty moderate Democrat. I mean, he is not John Fetterman. He is not Bernie Sanders. He's not Elizabeth Warren. He's, a quote good Democrat. But even I believe his personal stance on abortion is that he is personally pro-life, but supports, being pro-choice. I mean, that's how things should be. You should, even if you personally feel a certain way, you should be pro-choice. But I say this because once again, Pennsylvania is going to be the target for Republicans to try and flip this seat. I don't know who they're going to run, but I am mentioning Bob Casey essentially to highlight the fact that there's a potential Doug Mastriano re-emergence, the reawakening of the corpse that is Doug Mastriano's campaign that got absolutely destroyed by Josh Shapiro to run against Bob Casey, which I would put my life savings on this is theoretical. I'm not going to actually do this because I can't risk all my money, but if I could just have a safe bet with somebody that wasn't going to try to scam me, I would put my life savings that Bob Casey would handedly beat Doug Mastriano. That's just my opinion. Now, there's other people like Dave McCormick. I don't know if Lou Barletta is trying to run again. That's another name that, he ran in 2018. There are a bunch of people that ran for governor in the primary last year. We'll see. We will see that who will emerge to challenge Senator Bob Casey. But remember that the fate of democracy is in your hands if you live in Pennsylvania, if you live in key battleground states in 2024. We once again, ignoring the president, which the president's an obvious enormous election, Senate and U.S. House, Senate in particular, is going to be vital to the longevity of our republic. So please start paying attention to what's going on. I mean, if you're watching the show, you're already paying attention, but just start finding races now that you can get involved with, whether it's a 2023 race or a 24 race. Like we talked about last week with Ashley Ehas, we're talking about Bob Casey now. You can get involved with your school board races this year, etc. Down the line, there is something to do that you can make a difference with, okay? So, next, let's talk about Mr. Beast being an absolute legend. So there is a YouTuber. He is, I believe now, the most subscribed to YouTuber on the platform. His name is Mr. Beast. He does random challenges. He did like the Squid Game thing, which was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't watch it, but like I watched highlights and at what he did, and he gave somebody $456,000, like the show, like Squid Game, except like not killing people, because spoiler alert, that's what happens in the show. He's more of like a young teenager to kids YouTuber. And one of his like squad, I think that's the right term here. Now I'm feeling like an absolute boomer. But YouTubers have like these teams or these squads where they make YouTube videos, and it's like they're characters that kind of are all in this group that makes videos together pretty much every day. And no, it's not the guy that eats deodorant and gallons of expired Pepsi. That's LA Beast, which is the only Beast that I watch. But Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast, is just well loved. Like I would probably say he's much safer content, in my opinion, than even like PewDiePie was. And PewDiePie was obviously the largest subscribed YouTube channel in the world for a long time. But one of the squad members of Mr. Beast's team has been seemingly transitioning. Now, I don't know the full extent of like what the person's name is. Chris. Now, I don't know if there's like another name they go by. This is what I've seen it. I've watched videos just to try to be informed on this. But I think it's important not that there just happens to be a I believe they're transitioning, if not just non-binary. Regardless, the point is not that exists on the show or on the YouTube channel. The point is that you see things like this. Mr. Beast shoves trans agenda on children, which this is the person, Chris, and they're just transitioning. They're just living. They're existing. They're not talking about transitioning on the show. They're not saying you should do it. They're not doing anything like that. Then you see Sunny V2, which is a YouTuber that I've actually watched a lot of the YouTube videos. I watched this video, and I was like, what the hell is this? And talking about why Chris will soon be a nightmare for Mr. Beast. These are all clickbait. Here we have Matt Walsh. Mr. Beast sells out to the trans cult. And then we have Michael Knowles, another loser from the Daily Wire. Mr. Beast's sidekick goes trans. Which, here's the thing, okay? These right-wingers don't give a shit about treating people with dignity or respect. They don't give a crap about actually understanding and empathizing with somebody in another situation. This person, Chris, was going through, this is what I did in my research, was going through a divorce and has a kid and all this different stuff. And obviously he waited till or she waited, I think is the proper pronoun, but waited until after getting divorced to start transitioning, because that was obviously something that was not working with that relationship. And it just so happens that they're on a YouTube channel. So just by existing, not by going after and saying people should be non-binary, not saying that people should be trans or gay or anything in between, these lunatics, remember, Michael Knowles is the idiot that said that they want to eradicate transgenderism, which is not a thing. That is not a thing. The ideology does not exist. And they are told, oh, it's groomers this and groomers that. And, we will see, apparently, Matt Walsh, which is this sleazeball right here, his account on Twitter got hacked yesterday. So we're going to see what he's been up to, I'm sure, over the next couple of days as his DMs leak. But through all this, through all the attacks, after time, all these people saying, this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue, Mr. Beast comes out and basically says that Chris is his friend and that he doesn't give a shit about all the noise and that he supports trans rights. So these people are just mad because it's okay, or a YouTuber for kids is saying that it's okay to just exist the way that you are and to love yourself and to accept your others and to live comfortably in your own skin, for whatever reason. You can always want to better yourself, or you might want to look slightly different, you might want to express yourself different, but to enjoy yourself, to express yourself, and to be comfortable within your skin, that is probably the best thing that a kid's YouTuber could possibly say. And I think that kind of sums up this situation. But I'm interested to see as more and more of these right-wingers make these types of videos. I'm kind of interested to see them keep isolating and keep making that window narrower and narrower and narrower, and then it's like, oh, the echo chamber's only this big. I can't get the voice out because nobody's gonna want to talk to you. Nobody's going to want to engage with you. No, their bigotry is existing right now because it is something that they can kind of harp on and get clicks on and exist on and just kind of bring in some dough. They have their sponsors. But as people continue to recognize and realize that going against people that are just slightly different, that have a different lifestyle than you, we've been down this road before. My generation, it was more like, even at my age, like being gay was pretty normal. And especially now at 27, I know so many gay people that it's like, cool, sweet, have at it, have fun. Like, it's clear also, and I'll just say this, because I've also engaged with a lot of, and a lot is relative. I mean, I live in a suburban town, right? But a lot of people that are gender nonconforming and transgender. And it's clear that these folks have never engaged with anybody that identifies this way in good faith and actually heard them out. The science doesn't back up what they say. The sociological science doesn't back up what they have to say. Biology, history, the list goes on. Society at large does not back up what they have to say. So while we deal with this stuff and while we push through and we deal with the backlash, which does happen when you see this, we talked about a little bit the Reconstruction last year, the first Reconstruction following the Civil War. There was a backlash to Reconstruction, which frankly is where you saw a large spike in the KKK. And that is what's like, it's the kicking and screaming of a dying bigotry. It's the kicking and screaming of these people that they just don't want to accept something that is normalized, which this is going to be normalized. It is going to be normalized. It is going to be okay if you identify as LGBTQ plus someday. In my opinion, it's okay right now, but someday it will be accepted. You will be accepted, and these bigots will be chastised, and they will be pushed away like the bigots that they are, and that's what they'll deserve. So stay strong if you're somebody that identifies that way. If you have a family member, keep on fighting, standing up for these rights, looking at people like Mr. Beast as a role model, and just saying, you know what? You don't like my friend? Go F yourself. Like that's my friend. I don't care what they identify as. I don't care who they love. That's my friend. Leave them alone. And I think it's powerful to see somebody so boldly just go, no, back off. He's not a problem. She's not a problem. Get the hell out of here. So that's that. Let us go now to Fox versus Dominion. So, for those who may have forgotten, the 2020 election was, I don't even want to jokingly say it. The 2020 election, according to Donald Trump, was stolen. And according to Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and all the Newsmax folks, the 2020 election was stolen. And Mike Pillow, this is because the Dominion voting machines and the Smartmatic voting machines were hacked and were ballot stuffed and all these different lies and all this bunk stuff, which was disproven. Which, again, I will state up front here, I actually do support hand-marked paper ballots. We have them in Bucks County. They work. They're good. And I actually do support that. But there is zero, zip, nada, zilch, no evidence that supports that the 2020 election was stolen, interfered with, any sort of thing like that. And that the voting machines, which were, I don't remember if it was like Fidel Castro's ghost or somebody like that was messing with them. Look, I think it was somebody in Cuba that they were trying to say was messing with the machines. Mike Pillow, Mike Lindell, he was the big proponent of all this stuff. And he would go on Fox News, and then Fox News was like, oh crap, we can't have this guy saying all this stuff, but we can have Tucker say it, we can have all these other people say it. And basically, what they were talking about was that the Dominion voting machines were hacked and doing all this stuff. Well, Dominion, which is I believe it's a German company, decided to say, you know what? That's defamation. There's no evidence of this. We're going to sue you. And the case was, they tried to settle the case. They were trying to get it out of court. They were trying to say, no, not to go to court, not to go to court. And it eventually got pushed back until yesterday. And on Monday night, I should say, we can't go any episodes without looking at a Donald Trump truth. On Truth Social, Trump truthed out, Fox News is in big trouble. This is right before the trial took place on Tuesday. This is a Monday night. He's tweeting this. Fox News is in big trouble. This is in all caps for those listening. In big trouble if they do not expose the truth on cheating in the 2020 election. They should do what's right for America. When Rupert Murdoch says that there was no cheating in light of the massive proof that there was, it is ridiculous and very harmful to the Fox case. Perhaps he should say that, quote, he just didn't know. But that is hard to believe. Rupert, just tell the truth, and good things will happen. The election of 2020 was rigged and stolen. You know it, and so does everyone else. So, it wasn't rigged. It wasn't stolen. Fox News went in there. They couldn't get it to settlement. And there was things and things and things coming out. It wasn't public. None of it was, televised or whatnot. But it was something that was pretty well reported on. And let me pull the exact number. While we were all waiting to see, like, oh, this is a bombshell. Well, this is a bombshell. It went one day. And Fox News then comes back and says, all right, we will give you $787 million in a settlement. But we will not apologize on air. So, Dominion and Fox settle. They come to an agreement. Boom. Done. So, in the reverberations of this, the Fox News viewer will never, ever have to hear Tucker Carlson say, I was wrong. I lied to you. They will never hear, Fox and Friends coming to say, we were wrong, or we lied to you. Which they did. They all knew better. They all know better. The text leaked. They all hate Trump, except Maria Bartiromo, apparently. They all didn't believe that the election was stolen, even though they perpetuated the lie. And now that all the cards are on the table, they owe $787 million to a vote machine company. An election machine company. There's still another lawsuit, though. Smartmatic, which is the other one, is still suing Fox. So we might still get some funny clips. We might still get some interesting outbursts from those. Now, okay. Well, I feel like I gotta just, it's a weird way of putting it, but just get this over with, because this is a continued cycle of frustrating as hell gun violence that continues to just permeate throughout American society. I'm sick of seeing it on Twitter. I'm sick of seeing it on Facebook and on the news, and not a thing is being done. Okay. I'll just throw a trigger warning out there, because these are all kids. These are all kids, basically. The first one. In this case, we have Ralph Yarl, who in Kansas City, Missouri. I'll just read the headline. I'll just read the top couple lines here. This is according to CNN, which this is just facts. A black teenager who authorities say was shot in the head by an 84-year-old white homeowner after going to the wrong Kansas City address received a positive prognosis, but still faces a long road to recovery, according to his attorneys. This kid, Ralph Yarl, 16 years old, was, I believe, going to pick up his brother. And he pulled into the wrong address, knocked on the door, and got shot. But according to Ben Shapiro, according to the right wing, you would never have heard this story if the kid wasn't black. If Ralph wasn't black, you would never have heard it, according to Ben Shapiro. Okay. In Texas, 2 cheerleaders in high school. Two teenage cheerleaders were shot after one said she mistook the suspect, who you will find out shot both of them. But I'll continue. I'm jumping ahead. The suspect's vehicle as her own in a supermarket parking lot near Texas's capital, making this at least the third incident, as we will talk about the third one, in which young people who'd made an apparent mistake were met with gunfire. Authorities arrested Pedro Teo Rodriguez Jr., 25, the man they say shot the two teens. He was taken into custody early Tuesday, the Elgin Police Department said in a news release that morning. Now, these cheerleaders, they weren't white. They weren't black. They were Hispanic. So, of course, it would be like, okay, well, if they were white, nobody would have heard of it. That's, of course, because the media is just race baiting. The media just wants you to go after. They don't care about anything. They just want you to go after guns, and they're not talking about the real problem. The real problem. The real problem. The real problem. Well, apparently, this problem spans all races. Which we all know, but according to the right wing, doesn't exist. This just doesn't exist. It's just a media perpetuated hoax lie that is just blown out of proportion, except that this is the third kid, which the first three, actually, because this is the fourth incident, this is the fourth kid, but this is the third, separate incidents. But the two girls, the cheerleaders, one is in critical condition, and one was basically saved on the spot. Ralph Yarl's recovering, but this girl, Kaylin Gillis, didn't survive. According to CBS News, when Kaylin Gillis and her friends took a wrong turn into an upstate New York driveway last weekend, they couldn't have known the property was owned by a man who, according to a neighbor, had grown increasingly bitter over the years at people driving onto his land by mistake. This time, the error proved fatal. The Hebron landowner, Kevin Monahan, opened fire Saturday night, killing 20-year-old Gillis as she and her friends drove away after turning around in the long dirt driveway. 3 different stories in 1 week of young people being murdered, injured, maimed, however you want to put it, by gun violence for making honest mistakes. And even if they weren't honest mistakes, none of them should have been shot in any scenario. Any scenario. This is unacceptable. The problem isn't in this case. This is where it boils down. The problem here isn't racial division here. The problem isn't mental health here. The problem isn't even high capacity weapons, is the automatic weapons. It's not background checks. It is just solely access to firearms and a culture that has embraced and encouraged people to shoot other people and ask questions later. We do not live in the Wild West, but the fact is, because our justice system has been hijacked, that people are functioning like we live in the Wild Wild West, and they get away with literally killing people. We deserve better. These kids deserve better. Kaylin Gillis deserves to be alive. The kids in Tennessee deserve to be alive. The people in Kentucky that got shot last week deserve to be alive. And everybody in the Republican Party is looking for a scapegoat other than the guns. This cannot continue to keep happening. But it will. It will keep happening because they're not going to do a thing about it. And that's the saddest reality of this whole thing. Next up here, maybe last, I suppose. this is just, it's just disgusting. Honestly, it's like very, like you can't ignore it. You can't ignore that this stuff is happening. But some people just want to say, you know, that's just the way it is. And Ben Shapiro and them just want to say, you know, it's just actually, it's just those people over there. And then he actually is race baiting. And then he just does, he's like, oh, they just want to have race riots and wah, wah, wah. So screwed up. Well, let's go to, all right, well, this now, I guess I don't need to show you guys the article, but this past week, Ron DeSantis has decided to, or I should say, Meatball Ron has decided to go after the big mouse, the big cheese as they call him, Mickey Mouse, and Walt Disney World, because, of course, Ron DeSantis, he's a bright guy. You know, he really is. He's going after the largest tourist attraction in Florida. I mean, it's a smart move, really. You really want to prove a point. He's going to chase away Disney from Florida. I mean, that's all, when I think of Florida, that's like why I would go to Florida, is to go to Disney World, frankly. It's the only reason why I've ever gone to Florida, frankly. I've gone to Orlando maybe 3 or 4 times. One was for a powerlifting meet, and 3 times, I believe, was going to Disney. DeSantis has threatened because of, if you recall, the Don't Say Gay bill, which now also applies to all the way through 12th grade now, which is that's what they're trying to do now. Because remember, they were like, it's just for kids. It's just for kids. We just don't want you to talk to kids about it. Like, you know, little kids, you know, 18-year-olds, they can handle it. But actually, we changed our minds. Because that's the way this stuff works. They're authoritarians. DeSantis is picking a fight with Disney now, which, okay, pick a fight with Disney over Monopoly or anything that is meaningful. No, you're just going to get mad because they supported, they opposed the Don't Say Gay bill. They came out and vocally opposed it. And now DeSantis has been kind of sparring back and forth with them. And DeSantis threatens to put a federal prison right next to Disney World. Now, what's the big deal about that? Well, probably nothing. I mean, technically, it's probably nothing. You know, if you have a prison and it's well guarded and well maintained, you probably don't have a problem. But the same party of law and order and protect our children wants to put a federal prison, which means that the level of crime that somebody has to commit is higher. A federal prison right next to Disney World, which, in theory, could really actually endanger children. But, of course, the LARPing around children and groomers and this and that is all malarkey, as Joe Biden would say. And in response, there's a number of things, which I'm going to show you. We have Charlie Kirk getting upset by this, this is the funniest part about it, but we have Disney, like, just doing their normal Pride stuff. And I believe this is in Disneyland because it's in Los Angeles. But regardless, Disney is doing Pride events in Walt Disney World. I think in particular in Epcot, and just having Pride events like normal, and they're promoting them. And I believe they're having like a giant event. I forget what it was, but it's like a very large event. Oh, it's the first. That's what it was. I believe it was the first, you know, night Pride event ever in Disney World. So they're going to DeSantis is picking a fight with Disney, the largest tourist attraction in Florida. Now, the funny part, I think the funniest part here is that Trump goes after him for it. So here's another, this is the final Truth Social for you of the night. Donald Trump tweets or truths out. DeSantis is being absolutely destroyed by Disney. His original PR plan fizzled. That's true. So now he's going back with a new one in order to save face. That's also true. Disney's next move will be the announcements that no more money will be invested in Florida because of the governor. In fact, they could even announce a slow withdrawal or sale of certain properties or the whole thing. Watch. That would be a killer. In the meantime, this is all so unnecessary. A political stunt. Ron should work on the squatter mess. Which I actually don't know what the hell the squatter mess he's talking about is. But honestly, I think I'd be very happy if Disney moved. If Disney moved to even like Georgia, I think it would be awesome. It'd be epic. It'd be epic. Now, you know, as a theme park enthusiast, if you don't know this about me, I love watching theme park videos and I love the history of theme parks. Walt Disney specifically picked out a plot in Orlando, and actually Walt Disney World owns a large chunk of the area, and it operates functionally as its own municipality. Again, if you want to go after a large corporation, it would be around that stuff. And like saying, yeah, we're going to actually regulate this, or we're going to look into the safety of this and that. Which DeSantis has threatened, but he's actually going after it because of the woke. The quote woke. The woke. Is the woke in the room with you, Mr. DeSantis? But I would love to see Disney move, just because it'd be great. It'd be hilarious to see go anti-woke, go super broke. It won't happen. The original intent of the Florida resort was a vision by Walt Disney, especially Epcot and Magic Kingdom. So, you know, he's lucky in that sense that the company probably wouldn't go against that, but we will watch and continue seeing how this unfolds. The last thing I want to show you guys tonight before we go is this is what happens when you lose your mind over a 48-second, I believe, promo by Dylan Mulvaney, which I never knew who she was before all of this. Maybe some of the younger viewers of the program, younger than me, knew who she was, but did a promo with Bud Light, and now right-wingers, including this guy in this video, are losing their minds. Now, I will show you here. I'm going to try to make sure it's not too loud. Here's a video of a guy. Oh, wait. Whoops. I didn't share my screen. Here's a video. I'm going to rewind it here. Of a guy in a grocery store slamming beers. Not slamming them like drinking them. Slamming them on the ground. Yes, I am a boomer, Lindsay. Throwing them on the ground. Slamming them. Boom. Look at this. Guy wearing a epic bandana. Throwing beers left and right.
Oh, shit.
This is a whole aisle full of beers.
That's why he's destroying the bush light, dude. Why?
So, if you could hear the kid, he's destroying the bush light. This guy was not even... This guy was so triggered, but he wasn't even destroying the right beer. Instead of Bud Light, he was destroying Busch Light. And they're so triggered by the smallest... It's not even an inconvenience, because the thing is I think we talked about this at some point. It's not even a real promotion of Dylan Mulvaney. It was one can that was sent to her. One! And these people are losing their minds, smashing them. So now, of course, and I said that was the last thing, but here's the real last thing. Here we have Lauren Boebert tweeting out, hey, Bud Light, here's the one America wanted, with a picture of Pat Tillman, which, oh my God, they don't know. Lauren Boebert and the right wing don't understand. Pat Tillman was a football player. He played for the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL. After 9/11, went to serve. After he was serving, he was killed by friendly fire. And he was saving, that were also being shot at, saved other people in his, I don't know if it's the right term, but platoon, saved them. He stood up for gay rights. He was an atheist. And he was he wasn't, I shouldn't say he was anti-war, because I don't know, right? But the dude was not a right-wing hero the way that these people tout him. Now, I like him. I find him inspiring. I have, my best friend has a quote of him on his chest. Pat Tillman's an inspiration, and he is an American hero. But the right wing holds him up as this right wing, yes, Pat Tillman. And they showed him at the Super Bowl. And it's like, yeah, but guys, he was killed in friendly fire and they tried to cover it up. You have to know. This is why these stories are so important. You have to know who these people are. I saw somebody on the Central Bucks school board talking about, not on the school board, they were utilizing Malcolm X as justification for their right-wing ideology. Malcolm X is not a right-winger. Like, oh my, ugh. But, of course, I tweeted out, this is an actual Bud Light that I would drink, because, of course, Bud Light is not good. But if I were to drink one, I actually would get one with Pat Tillman's face on it, because Pat Tillman is an American hero. But that is not the way that these people would actually see it. So, with all that being said, that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. If you are on YouTube, which a lot of you are, hit the subscribe button. Hit it right now. I see that you have to hit it, so hit it right now. Hit the thumbs up button if you're watching. If you are listening on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else, you can hit the follow button or the subscribe button on any platform that you listen to podcasts on. You can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok, Greater Society Media. And you can follow me on Twitter at Con O'Hanlon. You can support the show, and thank you to our patrons. But you can support the show for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/Greater Society Media. All that being said, thank you all so much for watching or listening wherever you are. I hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe. Until next time, peace.